All right, what is up? It's your boy Matt Mason back with another episode of the Hyrox Rundown. And today, I'm very excited to welcome Mr. Hybrid. There are a lot of people that claim hybrid, but today on the show, we have a former collegiate decathlon athlete. We have the reigning world record holder and world champion in DecaFit co-ed with his partner, Katie Duke. Recently just ran in the Elite 15 doubles down in Houston and has a scar to prove it. An aspiring Elite 15 Hyrox hopeful with last chance qualifier on deck. We've got none other than Greyson Kilgore. Greyson, how are we doing, man?
I'm good, Matt. Thanks for having me, man. That's quite an intro. It made me feel like ready to race just hearing that. Can you do
Yeah?
that for can we I need that in my ear like right before I take the starting line. I like that.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to. I'd be more than happy to be your hype man before a race. Which I guess speaking of, what is your next? I mean, dude, you're racing all the time between Decas, Spartans, Hyroxes. You got it seems like there's a Deca strong every weekend. Like, dude, you're always racing. What's your next event?
Yeah, we've got a Deca mile here in Boise at the Epoch Training Center where I work this Saturday. And
Is that
then
the same one that Ryland set the world record in last year?
yeah, yeah. It's a good course. It's a fast course.
Dude,
Um,
maybe I should skip Hyrox DC and fly over to Boise.
I think you should. Boise's wonderful. We tell people, man, you got to come out here. The gym is 15 minutes from a trail system that can
Mm.
give you 7,000 feet of elevation gain if you want it. So Boise's wonderful. Mountain biking, running. You can mountain bike and ski in the same day right now in Boise if you want to. So it's a good
You know,
place.
I lived in Boise for a summer,
Oh, really?
and I love it. I tell people all the time that it's a hidden gem. It's
Yeah.
I was actually talking to Katie about this. When people ask me about like what it's like to live in Boise, I always tell them this is like such a funny thing, but it is one of the cleanest cities that I've ever like been in. It's like you're like downtown. It's like the streets are clean and like the sidewalks are clean, and
Yeah.
it's like doesn't have. It's like definitely a city built into the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great place, man. It's really good. So yeah, you should
Uh,
definitely come out to that Deca mile. Rylan set the world record there. Uh, I've
Here's a
put
real
up some
question:
great
are you going
times.
to
Yeah,
set the world record there on Saturday?
I might. Yeah,
Right? You feeling
yeah,
good?
I'm feeling good. I think I was like 9 seconds behind him that day when he set the world record. So it could
Let's
happen.
moving.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's move. Let's move in. Let's see. Let's see what that would have been. That was last season, right?
hmm
Yeah. Let's pull it. What was your time? Do you remember off the top of your head?
No, I don't.
All right. Well, that's good thing.
16 something.
They have made they have. I was a vocal critic at one point of the DECA leaderboards, and actually, the gentleman who is in charge of them responded. It was very nice about it. Told me that he heard my feedback and that he wanted to make it better. And you know, I got to give credit where credit's due. It is, in fact, better. Let's see. We got global leaderboard, Deca mile. Let's go, men. That's not right. Maybe go. Are you guys in the elites? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Oh,
probably. They may have our world championship times in there.
yeah. Let me see. Here we go. This is what we wanted. I was just on the wrong thing. It's in the wrong year. Oh, dude, it's not showing up. That's weird. I want 2024. All right, we'll look it up. But anyway, you
Yeah.
said 16 low.
Yeah, 16 low. I think he was sub 16. I think I was like 16:10 or something like that. So,
That's cruising. So what is that? Like probably what you probably ran your mile and like right around sub 6?
oh, and yeah, the mile splits are coming out to like low fives. It's fast. So,
Yes. Hey, dude, you got that jump, dude.
yeah,
So actually,
yeah.
here's a fun question for you to kick off the show. So you're obviously friends with, or at least no, I don't want to assume you're friends with him, but I assume you are because he's a good guy, Jack Bauer. and we have been having this conversation on how many people are in the 60-60 Hyrox club.
I was
Have you
just
heard about
listening
this
to
yet?
this. I was just listening. Yeah, yeah. I heard you
Okay,
guys covering that
so
in the last show.
we do know that you are a member of the sub 60 Hyrox pro time. Do you think that you're a member of can you break 60 seconds in the 400?
Easily. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, easily.
yeah, that was my bread and butter, baby. I hope I can do that until I'm like 50.
Okay.
I was a
So,
400-meter runner in high school.
okay. All right.
It was a good I ran some 400 hurdles in college before I went into the decathlon. I think the last time I don't do 400 repeats anymore. They're too risky, right? It's just too fast. But the last time, I think maybe a year ago, I was doing like 10 by 400, and I think like I accidentally went 63 on like rep 4 or something like that. So sub 60s in the cards for sure.
Okay. So if you train for it, what do you think you're hitting?
Oh
Like,
man,
are we doing like 59.4? Are we
yeah, it's
like,
like 59
okay.
7, 59.7 for
Okay.
sure.
So you're going to clip it, but it's going to be like right on the line.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
Especially
Jake, oh, go
if
ahead.
you put a bunch of boys on the track and you're like, hey, let's get all these Hyrox dogs out here to run a 400 together. Yeah, 4 of us are going sub 60 that day, and I think I'm one of them.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. JK actually texted me yesterday after he listened to this week's show, and he was like, I might, there's no way. There's no way.
He doesn't think so?
No, he doesn't think so. He doesn't think he's gonna dog me for that terrible accent. But yeah, he said that he thought that maybe he could clip a 63. He was like, it's probably more likely a 64, 65.
Sure. Well, man, I wonder, maybe I'm too confident, but
No. There's a
ma-
different. There's a difference between being like sprinting is a different beast,
yeah,
right? I
totally.
mean, it's all about the ability to get off the blocks and then be able to sustain. So
We're
you have a
talking, yeah,
bad start and it's over.
we're talking about different muscle fibers even. So I think those of us that played like traditional sports in school that are now, you know, in our 30s and still racing, we might have a lot more type 2 muscle now than we think. Um, I might be getting those mixed up, but that fast twitch, I think, is still in some of us. And maybe I'm arrogant enough to believe that I've still got some. So I've probably run 1,400,000 meters in my life. Like one time in high school, they called me the workout hero in high school because I always trained really hard and then was never healthy enough to like race well when I got to race weekend. But I did 10 by 400 at sub 60 with 3-minute rests in between each. So
Okay.
like I've done a million reps at the 400 meter. I think I can do it. That's all I'm saying.
Interesting. Okay. And now you said something that I wasn't planning on going into, like training methodology, but you said you don't do 400s anymore because it's too risky. I feel like 400s are a staple for a lot of hybrid coaches. Is that just a personal decision that you don't do them because it's too risky for you because you know your body, or do you not even program 400s for your athletes?
I don't program a lot of 400s right now. I have, and maybe I will again. I think when I made that statement, I was talking about myself more specifically, partially because of my tie to that event as a track and field athlete. It's hard for me to let go of what speed used to feel like.
Sure.
So,
So maybe you
uh,
overextend.
yeah, and really self-driven athletes know where I'm coming from here when I say like if I'm gonna self-sabotage in my training, it's going to be from training too hard, not too easy. So when it comes to an event that I like understand or a distance that I used to run a certain way, my form is going to transfer over to a running style that I used to have literally 15 years ago, and
Sure.
I'm not going to be able to walk the next day, you know. So some of that's personal for me, where 400-meter repeats on a track are going to put me in a dangerous headspace that and for me, I'm gonna have Achilles pain. I'm gonna have some low calf pain from just trying to be 190 pounds and ripping off 65-second, you know, laps. So uh, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't program a lot of 400s. It's a real short rep for the kind of stuff we're doing in Hyrox.
Sure, fair enough. All right, man. Let's get into your background a little bit for those that may not know you. So, did you grow up in Boise?
Yeah, I grew up just a little town south of Boise called Cuna, kind of a farm town when I was there. I've kind of been here my whole life.
Okay, nice. And then where did you run? You ran collegiately. You did the decathlon. Where did you run at?
Just a little private school here in the valley called Northwest Nazarene University. It's a Division II school.
Dude, that's hilarious because when I told you that the summer I lived in Boise, we stayed on campus in those apartments at Northwest Nazarene University, like right across from the baseball field.
Were you there for a baseball camp then?
I played in a summer league there. I was
Oh,
there
summer
for
league. Okay.
literally like 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Beautiful facilities. I don't know what it
Sure.
was like when you were running there, but it's great now.
Yeah, yeah, it's a nice spot. It's a tiny campus, right? It's crazy that you know where this place is. No one's ever heard of this. There's
Yeah.
not a single listener on this podcast right now that knows what the heck we're talking about. It's such a tiny little school.
I
Yeah.
know, but it's just like it's like tucked in this like neighborhood
Uh-huh.
in Nampa, and dude, it's
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. Okay,
Yeah.
so you competed. Did you compete all 4 years?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, just 4
Nice.
years there. Started out as like a 400-meter runner, and then my body just changed a lot in college. I came in at like 170 pounds and would but always was already like growing a little too fast. And then as soon as I started touching a barbell, I just started gaining weight. And it became like a little tricky to be like 5'11", 190 and still be fast for 400 meters. You couldn't run a 48 or a 49 with that frame. It was very difficult. So
There's a
I kind
lot
of
of dudes that just got really jealous listening to this here, and you'd be like, "Ah, dude, I just like touched a barbell and I just couldn't help it. It's like packed on muscle, dude. I just became a unit, dude. I don't know what to tell you."
That's a great point. It's quite a statement. I'm one of those guys that gains weight super easily. So, um, which is funny. When I was on the Spartan Protein, we haven't gotten to that yet. But when I was trying to be a mountain runner, I was trying to get my body weight down to like 160, and I could never get below like 173. And it would just feel terrible trying to cut weight. So, Hyrox and Deca give me a chance to lift barbells and be my normal self.
Well, you obviously did okay for yourself because you were on the pro team for several years, correct?
hmm Yeah.
Would it want to be in 5 years total or 3?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was 5 years. And racing on I think pro team athletes would categorize me as like a B team Spartan pro team guy, where I could win your local races, but never cracked. Well, I cracked the top 10 one time at a national series event, like in Spartan's heyday. But so definitely a B team level pro athlete.
Hey man, I think that you're doing it all right. You've parlayed this all fairly well into a hybrid career. So did you make the transition from um Spartan Pro Team to Deca Fit and Deca Mile and Deca Strong? Was that your first foray into hybrid, so to speak?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I had kind of been watching Deca Fit and Hyrox for a long time as I was coming off the end of the Spartan racing thing, and I was getting a master's degree at the time when Deca was really starting, and when Hyrox like first came to the United States, and so racing wasn't at the forefront of my mind at the time. So I had kind of been watching it, and then when the opportunity came around, I didn't have a lot of time to train, so Deca Strong and Deca Mile were like easy entries into the hybrid world for me because I only had like 30 minutes in the morning and then 30 minutes at night, like around like all my jobs and getting my master's degree. So those were really easy entries. And then obviously from there, like you want to go farther, you want to do more. So when I was able to start adding more training volume, that was how I kind of got into the Hyrox and the Deca Fit a little bit more.
Sure, sure. And how long have you been doing Deca now? This is what, probably 3 years?
Yeah, year
4?
three. Yep, 3 years.
Year 3? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and you, I mean, you really asserted yourself this year with a very strong showing across the board. If I've got my facts and figures right, you won co-ed teams
hmm
fit with Katie.
Yeah.
Um, you got second in fit solo to Dylan,
Yeah.
second in strong or mile, I mean,
hmm
to your good buddy Rylan, because you guys are good
Yeah.
friends. You
Yeah.
did not compete in strong solo, correct? You did all the
No, I did.
co-ed
I
teams.
did. No, I competed in strong solo. I wasn't registered for it initially, and then I saw that they had a spot open the day of, and I was like, man, I'm pretty beat up. But I actually got jealous because Katie was registered to race all 6 races, and I was like, well, I'm not going to be like her teammate who races 5 out of 6 races. So I signed up for that thing. It was actually, man, I was having a great race. There's this kind of a dramatic video where I had like a massive cramp from my waistband all the way up my lat and then down my tricep, and I dropped my dumbbells mid farmer's carry. It kind of faded to 4th place after that. So,
Oh,
so yeah,
interesting.
fourth was my worst finish on the weekend.
Okay. So who did you take over for?
I don't know. So I don't know.
Because I'm looking at the results right now. Deca Strong individuals. This is why I'm confused.
Because I'm not on there.
Yeah, it's Colin Stiefer at 11:33, Christopher Vonhoff 11:34, Kevin Gregory 11:53, and then Tim Ovidal 12:15 in 4th.
Yeah, no, they don't have me. I've checked. They don't have me on there. I think I was like 12:04 or something like that for the 4th.
Yeah, because I thought when I watched when I watched the race, I was like, I'm pretty sure that Greyson did all 6.
Yeah.
But then when I went back and pulled up the results, you weren't there. Okay. All right. So you finished, you got 4th and strong. So just missed the podium. And then you and Katie won and waxed Rich Ryan to take that world record back on the fit. And then you all raced strong and miles together, correct?
Yeah. We missed the podium on the strong, and then I think we maybe took 2nd or 3rd on the mile.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be you don't have to be humble there. You took 2nd.
Okay.
So you got that 2nd place finish, beating Chelsea Grant and Pat Millington. Coming in 2nd to your good buddy Kevin Gregory, also affectionately known as Bubbles.
Right.
I asked Katie the same question that I'll ask you, because you ran just before, like you ran Hyrox Chicago like 3 weeks before that. You put up a pretty that's when you got into was that your first sub 60? Was Hyrox Chicago?
Yeah, that was my 2nd Hyrox ever. So
yeah, because Anaheim in 2024, May, that last chance qualifier, that was your first one, correct?
Yep, it was my first shot at it.
So you raced Hyrox Chicago, and then it was either 2 or 3 weeks later you raced 6 Deca events, and then was it the following weekend that you guys did Hyrox Anaheim for your 3rd race?
Yeah.
How do you get your body ready for 8 high level races in a very short amount of time?
Yeah, I wish there was like a secret sauce that you could tell people, but the reality is athletes who are able to handle that kind of volume and that kind of intensity have practiced it for years. So step 1 is you have to have a massive aerobic base that allows you to just take impact after impact and rep after rep. So really for me, knowing that was going to be the goal the whole time, the summer prior, last summer, really focused on bumping my aerobic volume to 15 hours a week, which was about double of what I had done the summer before. So really it was about like building resilience through volume. And I think that's a story that we've heard across the hybrid training space for a long time now. And so once you have that volume, once you have that resilience, I think there's a lot of weightlifting that goes into play there, of like lifting heavy weights as a way to protect your body from injury, help maintain a general global strength. And then also, once you've been doing that for enough weeks in a row, that becomes a way to actually recover and to teach your body to get back into its normal training rhythms as fast as possible. So I think maybe Katie talked about this a little bit when she was on the podcast with you, but we had really focused strategies about how to fuel before, during, and after races to think about how we're going to feel in the week after or the day after. So instead of just fueling for the event that we had ahead of us, we were thinking, okay, we've got to be able to hit the ground running next week and feel good and get settled into a rhythm where we can like hit our natural stride for the races to come.
Yeah. I think there's like, I got 2 follow-up questions off of that. There's obviously like just the pure recovery side of like, I know Katie talked about like just making sure you're eating enough food to help your body recover. But the one thing that I think is always like difficult is being in those environments. I'll just speak for myself. Maybe you don't feel this way, but like it's always like taxing on the central nervous system of just like we were in Houston together. We both
Mhm.
raced twice in Houston. Your races were more intense than mine. But 2 or 3 days later, I was just exhausted. Like physically, I felt fine, like muscularly, like I could have like worked out, but I was just like tired from just like being in that environment. So would you say that in addition to just like the actual physical recovery, that there's also just like an element of like, I hate to use this phrase but like mental toughness of just being like, look, it just is what it is. And like, I may not feel as sharp
Mm.
mentally as I would, but I just have to overcome that.
Yeah, I think maybe the mental fatigue might come from the social aspect of an environment like that, and especially a guy like yourself where you're gonna be in a million conversations per hour, right? Like, you're getting a lot of conversational reps. So there's certainly a mental fatigue to, like, the noise and the energy, and the just, like, being, like, race ready and your focus. But racing at this intensity, I don't know if we're talking enough about how it affects your central nervous system and the kind of like long-term effects that come from such high intensities for long durations and the way that that's going to affect us going forward. So I think when we think of like injury or damage we absorb in hybrid racing, we say like, well, I didn't get tendonitis, I'm ready to go again, or
Sure.
all my muscle fibers are working today. But these races have a significant effect on your nervous system. And I've had, to be honest with you, this spring I've been battling a little bit with coming off of like Houston is a great example. I ran men's pro doubles at 7 p.m. I woke up the next morning and ran mixed doubles with Katie at 8 a.m. And then like that evening we flew back to Boise and we got in at like 11 p.m. And for 4 days after, like my muscles started to feel okay, my joints were feeling okay, but elevating my heart rate or even just like standing up to walk would make me break out in like a crazy sweat. And that's when we're talking about like nervous system fatigue, and it's something we got to pay attention to and manage after a race. So yeah, after Houston, I was having all those things, man. I'd just be sitting there and I'd like think about moving and I'd break out into a sweat. Like you'd see it on my face.
Yeah, dude, no doubt. No doubt. So you said, okay, but part of the preparation in that is you built up to 15 hours of aerobic volume last summer in a week. Now, is that just like erging, biking, and running? Are you doing strength training on top of that? Or was that like you're just 15, like you just did a base build? Like, what did that training look like to build that kind of volume?
Yeah, so that was in that particular phase this summer, one of my goals was to get up to running 50 miles a week and let that kind of mileage become a baseline. Mid-season, I'm not running 50 miles a week all of the time, but it was a goal for me. After a conversation I had with Anthony Parasini when we were chatting in Utah at a Spartan race one afternoon, and he was just kind of like he had like kind of read some of my data points from my previous Anaheim Hyrox event, and he just said, "Man, it just looks like you haven't." uh had done enough workouts for this duration, right? You need more time on your feet. So I bumped up to 50 miles a week was a goal. That's not a
Dude,
goal that I have
another shout
regularly.
out to the Dr. Frankenstein of hybrid, Anthony Parasini.
Oh man, yeah, we could shout out to him all day. Um, so yeah, pretty much at that time, I was running. I was doing a lot of aerobic work where like I think people who are really good in the hybrid space are not afraid to get in circuits that are consistent and boring. So you'll see me like a couple times a week. You're gonna find me doing like 4 minute row, 4 minute ski, 4 minutes on the treadmill, and I'm gonna do that for 90 minutes or whatever. So that's not unusual for me just to try to
Dude,
get that aerobic volume.
yesterday I literally did 4 minute row, 800-meter run, 4 minute bike, 800-meter run, 4 minute ski, 800-meter run for
Mhm.
90 minutes. And I was just like, this is not, I know this is what it takes, but this is just like not sexy work. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's not. I mean, it is what it takes. It is absolutely what it takes. So during that time when I was actually doing what I think what helps, I've got this workout that I write for a lot of people. I just call it perfect miles, where when you get on the treadmill, I want athletes, and what I was doing for myself. So I would lock into the most perfect running stride I could possibly conjure for myself. I'm thinking about ground contact to the hip height, forward lean, how I'm pushing out behind me. pawing at the ground with a 4-foot strike, thinking of my feet as launch pads and not landing zones. And I'm doing that for 90 straight minutes, where like if I'm on the treadmill, I'm thinking about trying to like create a perfect stride for myself. And when I get off that sucker, I'm gonna like sit on the assault bike and get out my phone and text people. So it was like this workout was designed around, I'm gonna let my mind wander when I'm sitting on the assault bike. I'm like get dialed and get focused on like perfect quality reps when I'm on the treadmill. And that kind of helped the time go by a little bit faster. So to answer to your first question, on top of that, then I was lifting 4 times a week, like 4x5, general strength, super heavy reps, and trying to like get my bench press up, getting my like reverse stationary barbell lunge to a heavier weight, and keeping it really simple during that base building phase.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it does matter how you look running around that track, and Greyson is one of the best looking dudes running around that track.
Oh,
Just
come on now.
just 190 pounds of beef just moving around that course quickly,
Oh man.
efficiently. Okay, so I'm curious as to your thoughts because, the and I think I probably asked Katie a similar question, but just the nature of like we're starting to see people specialize in terms of like people are running Deca or they are running Hyrox. And I think a lot of that is just because like people find that like the demands are just different. It's
Hmm.
just like different systems. And it's like it's hard to kind of ride that line of, you know, being able to be really sharp and high level at both. Obviously, there's people who have done it. Like, you know, Dylan obviously right now is at the kind of the top of the um Hyrox game, so to speak. And then he, you know, obviously won Deca Fit Worlds. We've seen but we've also seen some other athletes that have struggled to like really blend that. Like the most notable one was Kent, Rich, and Rylan, who were in really good Deca shape. And then they tried to transfer that back over to Hyrox. And they're all very capable Hyrox athletes. They've all run 55s, 54s in
Hmm.
Hyrox, but when they were
Right.
coming right off the back of Deca, they actually, I don't think any of them cracked an hour,
Mm.
which is, you know, not what's normal for them. So how do you like right now you're sitting in between the best of both worlds because as we mentioned, you did run a sub 60 in Chicago in November, and then you did really well at Worlds and you followed it up in Anaheim, and you have raced, you know, you just ran a really good time with Colin Stiefer, and presumably you're staying in shape to run this last chance qualifier that's coming up. And I know you've got
Mhm.
time because the benefit to you as Deca Worlds is towards the end of the year. But
Mhm.
how do you balance or ride that line of being able to compete at a high level of both when they do seemingly take different systems or different types of training?
Yeah. It's pretty experimental, to be honest, and I think I'm about to see how long I can do that.
Okay.
So maybe there's a time period where that's possible. Most people that say a coach would tell you that if you want to train for Hyrox and for Deca, you need to train your volume and your lactate threshold, all of your like muscular endurance reps. You need to point that at Hyrox, because if you're trying to focus on like the speed and the intensity of Deca and then trying to like gear that up to Hyrox, it doesn't work. It's very difficult. So for the most part, what you've got to be doing is focusing your volume on Hyrox training. And then I do like double threshold days or like workout finishers that are Deca focused. So um, as I've gained more reps under my belt, there's a lot of things I'm not doing. I don't do a lot of dead ball over shoulders or ram burpees in my training. Maybe I need to, but I try to I like weigh the risk factors, and those are a couple of things that I'm just not doing. One thing that I am doing is hitting double threshold workouts on the assault bike all the time. It's low impact. It's a great engine builder. And I think that's on in my mind. That's clearly the pinnacle in Deca racing, right? Like it's the moment that everybody dreads. So really, like going into that block where I was gonna kind of push for Hyrox and then rebuild for the Deca events. I was just doing all of my Hyrox training as normal, and then like twice or 3 times a week, I'd come back on the back half of the day and do like 1 minute on, 1 minute off on the assault bike, or a real killer that I love. I call it Watson, which is a dumb name for it, but it's 10 minutes on the assault bike, with the highest possible watts you can maintain for 10 minutes, lay on the ground for 5 minutes, and then get back on the assault bike and do another 10 minutes at the highest possible wattage. So stuff like that, I think, is pretty effective for DECA training. But I don't know, like, no, I don't, we haven't been doing this for long enough to know like what the
Yeah.
long-term effects are.
Yeah. So basically, it's, if I am understanding you correctly, the way you think about it is train for Hyrox, sharpen for DECA, as opposed to the
Mm-hmm.
other way around.
Yeah. Yeah, and man, I don't want to make it sound like it works out perfectly. 3 weeks before Chicago, I was in the ER with rhabdo. It's not like I think sometimes when people watch athletes who are performing on the super high end of things, like we're riding a fine line, and I'm not going to be out there broadcasting to people like, "Oh, I had rhabdo this month, so I'm going to suck in Chicago." I'm not going to tell people that. If you ask me how I'm going to do in Chicago, I'm going to say I'm going to crush you. But there's this whole thing we're doing is still pretty experimental in terms of trying to figure out how to train for Hyrox and DECA, and go to work all day and be present to the people that we're trying to help, and then come
Yeah.
home and be a good parent, and then still like catch some sleep at night. We're still figuring it out.
Yeah, I don't think for what it's worth, I didn't take it as you making it sound like it was that easy. I think
Okay.
the only person who seems to make it look easy switching back and forth is Lauren Weeks.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The rest of us are trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So to kind of close the book on DECA, and then we'll kind of transition into kind of your Hyrox season so far. I do want to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about what you're doing, because it sounds like you're working a little bit closer with Yancey and with Kevin Gregory, and you all are doing some cool things coming up this season for DECA. So I wanted to give you a chance to talk about that.
Yeah, man. I approached Yancey a few months ago, just wanting to get some skilled DECA training happening in the venue. SoCal, April 18th. That's the Friday night before DECA's SoCal event, which is totally sold out, by the way. Great news for the hybrid world, I think. The night before, Friday night, in the venue, myself, Kevin Gregory, and Katie Duke are going to be hosting just a DECA athlete clinic where we're going to be going like station to station with athletes and helping them learn like race strategy and zone techniques. I just got really passionate about that after being at the DECA Fit World Championship this last year. I noticed that a lot of like the high level coaches in the hybrid space kind of moved away from DECA, and then a lot of the elite athletes kind of moved away from DECA. But what I was watching and what inspired the heck out of me was a ton of age group athletes throwing down in the team events and in the individual events. And I was like, there's like an energy here that I love and that I'm passionate about and that I want people to get excited for. So my investment in the DECA world is not just because I want to race there and because I want to be there, but I love what it offers people. For athletes who are coming from like stick and ball sports or traditional sports, if you're an athlete with a little bit of like agility left in your bones and some fast twitch muscle, the DECA Strong Teams events are for you. Like it is a great opportunity to like get into the hybrid space using the skills you've developed for the last 20 years as like a youth athlete, right? So I'm pumped about that. The clinic is going to be awesome. It's going to be 2 hours from 4 to 6 p.m. Friday night. And here's the deal. The hybrid racing world is getting more competitive. So people who come to this clinic are going to be like world championship ready because we're going to be revealing our tips and tricks for how to race and how to fuel and all the things you might see us doing on a live stream. And you're like, why the heck are they doing that? Well, we're going to tell you why. So we need people to get registered for that and lock in their spots because they're going to go quick.
Dude, love that. If you're going to be in SoCal for DECA Fit SoCal, sign up, go hang with the homies. They're good people. If nothing else, you'll get to shake their hand and meet them and get to meet cool people. But the tips that you'll get out of it will be worth it too. That's awesome, man. Like, I think that's super cool. And like, I'm a big believer in like a big tent, so to speak. Like, I think the hybrids, like in any domain, like having competition and like having like a plurality of events, I think can only make the community better.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that's great. And I'm pumped that you all are getting to do that. I'm bummed that I won't get to be there. It sounds like I'm going to miss a ton of good stuff.
Yeah, we should be there, man.
Yeah, I still haven't done a Deca. I need to do one. But I like the long grindy stuff. I don't
Hmm.
have that I don't have that 400 speed that Grayson Kilgore has.
Sure. Well, this is a crazy thought. What you could do is just go slower and make it last longer.
I could, but I'm also highly competitive. So I
Yeah,
think I would
yeah,
hate that. I think I would
yeah.
hate that. Um, all right, man. So you were a part of one of the most electric races that I've ever seen live, which was the Elite 15 doubles in Houston. Maybe just like let's just start from the beginning. How did you and Colin wind up partnering up together?
Yeah, I'd kind of started meeting Colin as we raced each other, like in Hyrox and Deca events, and we always we're always like right next to each other. In Chicago, we ran elbow to elbow for almost the whole race, and then at the Deca World Championship, we were with each other up to like a salt bike, I think. So it seemed like a natural fit of like it was like, hey, we're always running together. Why don't we just do it as a team and give it a real shot? So. Um, yeah, we signed up for that race, and then we're
Yeah,
like
it just
we're in.
helps you also are like two cool dudes. When I was like
Mm,
talking to both of you after the race, it was like you guys could be like brothers. So it's just
oh
like
man,
matching energy.
yeah, he really is so cool and so kind. And I know that's kind of that's like how people are in the high rock space, where the place is just full of cool and awesome and kind people. But he's a spectacular person. He's really wonderful. So yeah, he reached out to me and asked if I would be his teammate, and we figured out like the where and the when of it all. Um, and we had felt like man, we're like pretty confident that we're gonna get into this like elite 15 doubles, and then we started to see the like all the people popping up who are gonna be in this race. We're like, cool, James Kelly and Jake Dearden are gonna be there, awesome. And then obviously Marcus Wallace and Dawson Miller were like, great, that's gonna be a challenge. And then we see that Dylan Scott brings a guy over from Europe, and we're like, okay, all right, so this is not an easy podium by any means.
Yeah, dude, I'm looking at it right now, 9 teams under 54,
Hmm.
which is crazy. And basically almost 5 teams under 52. I mean, that race was blazing fast.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Um And you all were right there. You had you did pick up a war wound.
Hmm.
It's kind of funny. I'm like standing in the recovery zone after, waiting to give JK something, and Grayson is like being checked out by like the medical assistants, and just like from the look of the way, like where his like arm is, like his bicep is like bruised, and it like looks like he's like the first thought was like, oh dude, did Grayson like tear his bicep? And I think that's actually what Katie's reaction was at first too.
Yeah.
And then you were like, oh no, it's this. And he like lifts up his forearm and it's just like blood. And it's like, dude just like went to battle. So like, dude, what happened?
Yeah, it doesn't look bad now. It's just a simple little scar.
Oh
Like
dude, that's the little cut.
you would
Dude, it looked
notice it.
way worse on the day
I
of.
think so. I was just running one of those corners, and a rail was one of the square railings was sticking out a little far, and I just clipped that sucker coming by. And at first, I was like, well, "Oh, that kind of hurt more than I thought it would." I never gave it any thought until I was walking. Like I was getting down off the stage at the end of the race, and the medical team was like jogging to me, and they're like, "We're gonna help you. We're gonna help you." And I was like, uh-oh, like, is something bad about me that I don't know? Like, am I worse off than I think? And then it turned out just to be like blood running down my arm and onto my hands from that cut. My joke that I made to Katie is like, I would have run that race if I wasn't leaking fuel out of my arm the whole time. Like those are precious carbs and nutrients that I need that are shooting out of my arm while I'm bleeding. So I wouldn't have won that race with all the blood in me. But
Uh,
um,
that's funny. So,
yeah.
dude, tell me, like, what was that like? Because obviously, I heard from Dawson and Marcus, but dude, that first run, you guys went like, there's a lot of phrases that get overused, but like "bats out of hell" is probably a good phrase there. You guys, all of you, all 4 teams,
Hmm.
did that first run in 3:16. Like, you
Yeah.
obviously knew that it was going to be a serious like race, like right from the get go. But I'm curious,
Hmm.
like, dude, what's going through your mind when you're running with like 14 like that? That's anywhere from at minimum 25 seconds to maybe even 35 seconds faster than what you would normally take a 1K in a Hyrox race. Like, could you feel like right from the get go, like, oh, this is gonna like you probably knew before the race it was
Mhm.
gonna hurt, but like when you
Yeah.
get done with that run one, are you like, oh boy, this is gonna be a grind?
Yeah. You really man, you really can't feel the trick to a team's race is you really can't feel run one. And that's where like the Dawson and Marcus were very smart to chill, and then they didn't care about really what position they went into the ski erg at, and they made their moves on the sleds. That was very smart because it's hard to feel how fast the pace is on run one. Really, for me, it was on the ski when like everyone in those top 5 spots is ripping like a 132 to 139 pace. That's when it really started to hit me. I was like, oh, this hurts already. Like this is going to be a hot race, and you start thinking ahead and reassuring yourself and saying, okay, I'm going to get rest. It's not going to be this intense the whole time. But as soon as like it's your turn to push or pull or ski, and then you got to like get back on that run. It was a hot pace, man. It was really tough.
It's funny that you
Um,
say that because there was definitely no rest because run 2 was a second faster
mhm.
at 3:15. And then you guys pushed it in 1:40, and even despite maybe having a little bit of lactic in those legs, you still ran 3:24 after that. So,
Yeah, we're cooking.
yeah, I mean, it was hot, dude.
Mhm.
Your slowest run of the day was actually run 8 after the lunges. It was 3:39,
Yeah,
which is still
it's fast.
blazing. It's still
We
yeah,
Oh, go
go for it.
ahead. Sorry.
No, go for it.
Um, Man, what a lot of people don't know about watching Colin and I in that race is the wind was maybe a little bit out of our sails, to be honest, at that point. I had made 2 errors that cost us a lot of time in that race. One is we got a 10-second penalty on the row, for that what I think is a pretty dumb rule. I think I touched the handle before
Oh, is it
I
the same one that Dylan
Mhm.
got?
Yeah, so we got that 10-second penalty, and then I got lost looking for farmer's carry. I rounded the corner past the water station that's kinda, like, right in the middle of that rock zone, and, I was breaking snow, so Colin was kinda, like, right behind me, with his just kinda, like, following me, and I ran right past the start to farmer's carry and ran all the way to lunges, and we just went like, "Oh, crap." We're in the wrong spot. So we kind of like looked around, and finally a volunteer's like, you got to go back. And so we're like a little bit shaken up, right? Like, oh my gosh, we just lost 30 seconds, 40 seconds, who knows? And so we run back, and then I'm so race brained out that I just run up and grab the first kettlebells that I see, and the volunteer's like, not those ones. And then I grab the next ones, and she's like, not those ones either. I'm like, ah, like I'm just like leaking time, and then I
And
grabbed the
blood.
and blood. Yes, it was a real amateur moment, honestly. So coming out of farmers carry into lunges, we knew like, okay, we're now 45 seconds back from where we want to be because of that like a really crappy error. So um, I think maybe I could have pushed a little harder on that run coming out of lunges, and we certainly wall balled to the best of our ability. But it in the end, like it's frustrating to me that we lost that podium spot by maybe what is it like 45 or 50 seconds, and I personally probably lost us 40 seconds in the rock zone myself.
Yeah, it was you guys finished 52 flat, and Jeremy McConnell and Dylan Scott were in that 3rd spot, 51:09.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so about 50 seconds.
we might not have been like on it, but we would have certainly been in the race a little bit better if
Yeah,
I wouldn't
contention.
have missed that massive
And
turn.
if you're there, you never know what happens.
Yeah,
So, well, then that just begs the next question. So, you guys were obviously right there,
yeah,
and obviously you're a competitor, so never feels good to lose. But the 3 teams that you all lost to, I mean, at least one of them has got to be the favorite to win as of right now, and then the other
yeah.
ones are gonna be tough. So, are you and Colin gonna try to team up again to get a spot? I know that Miami doesn't work, but are we looking at Paris or London to try to go and snag that qualifier?
Unfortunately, not for me. That feels like a bit of a reach for me at this point. I know he's looking for another partner to race in Miami, so I told him I hope he replaces me with somebody faster and uh, more like race focused when they get in the rock zone.
Dude,
But so
breaking
yeah,
news: Colin Steeper not out on the doubles.
not out. I think I know who his partner is, but I don't know that it's entirely confirmed, so I won't say. Um, but yeah, so I hope he gets in. I hope he finds someone who can run the rock zone better than I did.
And the reason why Greyson won't be racing with him in Miami is because you've actually made the decision that you're going to travel over to Spain and give a crack at that last chance qualifier. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, man.
How are you
Um,
feeling?
I feel good about it. I'm really excited. I've not raced internationally yet, so there's a lot of driving factors there for me. I want this. Like I want to be, and everyone wants. I want to be an elite 15 athlete. Everyone wants to be an elite 15 athlete, right? So I wouldn't be so arrogant to say that like I'm doing this because an American that's got a shot. I'm gonna believe that a little bit because I'm a competitor, but I want experience racing abroad. I have sponsors that helped me get there. Like Manly helped me get that ticket, which I'm super excited about. I have other sponsors that want to be unnamed. So thanks, Grandma. No, I'm kidding. It's not my grandma. I want to that want to help to get me over there. So I'm feeling good, but I'm not an idiot. I know there's going to be a lot of big names in the race, but logically, here's how it goes for me. Um, I think American courses are a little slow. I think comparatively, it'd be nice to try to get over to Europe and see if I can run a faster time over there. So there's two main reasons that make it a great option. One, if by uh, some chance I go top three, then that's a shot at the world championship. And then say I don't, the roll downs come from that race, so that makes it a good reason to be there. And then if I run a good time that I'm proud of, that only helps for the upcoming season. So I think it's a good shot for me, and it's Barcelona. It's gonna be great to be in Barcelona.
Yeah, man, for sure. And it's just a good experience because it's probably fair to assume that I would assume that this isn't the end of the road for you in terms of Hyrox. So you're going to be trying to get a crack at the Elite 15 for next year.
Hmm.
And more than likely, they are probably going to take the world championship back to Europe. So you're going to
Yeah.
have to race in Europe at some point in time. So it's definitely a good experience. Uh,
Hmm.
well, let's just hope that this year they do you a little bit better than they did last year, and you don't wind up in like the fifth heat. Hopefully, you get in that front heat with the big dogs, so you know what you got to do.
Man, I'm honestly I'm mentally prepared to race from any heat they put me in. So in Vegas, so let's see. In Chicago, I run like 59, and then in Anaheim, I ran 59. Not super fast times, obviously, but in Vegas, they put me in the dead last pro heat, and I
Yeah, I
was
remember
just
it was like a battle that they were like talking up between Dawson and Jake. And then all
yeah,
of a sudden, like I went back and looked the next morning and I was like, oh shit, Dawson didn't win. Grayson won.
yeah, and they still I don't want to say that like Hyrox is doing all of this to me, right? But yeah, I won that race.
I don't think that they are. On the Elite 15 doubles, they had you guys, Dawson and Marcus, Jake or JK and Jake, and then Jeremy and Dylan. You all were in different heats until you all, I think, collectively reached out and were like, hey, hold on a second.
Yeah,
This doesn't
yeah.
make any sense.
Yeah. So I'd love to be in that first heat. I don't know, like I'm gonna send some messages maybe and see what I can accomplish, but you got to be mentally ready to just run your best race from whatever heat you're in. So in Vegas, I ran a great race by myself, just charging the runs and doing my best on those stations. And um, I know for a fact I ran 57:50 in Vegas because that's what my watch said, and that's what Katie's watch said, and that's what my dad's watch said. It was 50, 57, 51. And every other pro athlete that day got a 20-second time adjustment. So when I crossed the line, or the board said 58:11, and I was like, oh, they're going to give me my time adjustment. It hasn't come. So in terms of when you say, like, do I feel ready for Barcelona? My time says a 58:11, but I'm telling myself, I'm like, I'm a 57 guy. My watch said it, and Katie's watch said it. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, dude, you're a 57 guy. Yeah, I hope for your sake that I love that mentality of like, dude, I'm ready to race no matter what heat I'm in. But I do hope for your sake that you're in the heat because this is a race that like the time doesn't matter. Being a 57 guy might be good enough to win. Being a 57 guy might not be good enough to be top three. And I
Yeah,
think
totally.
that's the thing that I hope for you is that you've got you just have a shot to know where you're at, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
and that's part of the race experience thing, right? Like, if you're a person trying to crack into the Elite 15, you need quality reps under your belt. So that Elite 15, like, men's pro doubles in Houston, amazing experience racing the top dogs in the world, right? We're talking like Dylan, we're talking JK. That was an awesome opportunity for me. So I certainly want that chance again, just to race, those top guys in Barcelona. That's like a dream come true for me. And here's the deal: at the end of the day, we're doing this because we want to race. We want to race the best people. We want to put the best version of ourselves out there. So really, no matter what the outcome is, the opportunity to race fast dudes is a gift. It's like an absolute opportunity. So yeah, you bet I want to be in that heat, and I want to be rubbing shoulders with the best athletes that are going to be there.
dude, that's got me fired. Dude, you got me ready to want to race. I want to race right now. I don't want to wait till DC. I want to go outside right now and race. Dude, I love that, man. Yeah, it'll be cool because I think, right now it's looking like it's shaping up to be a good race. You'll be there.
Hmm.
We know that John Wynn will be there.
Hmm.
Word has it that Lucas Storath, former world champion, will be there racing.
And winner
Uh,
winner of last chance qualifier last year, right?
Correct. Yes.
Hmm.
Him and John got the spots through the LCQ last year. And then um, Michael Sandbach is supposedly, or at least is trending like he's going to be there.
Yeah.
So there's going to be, there's also a couple other names. Like, I don't know. I would assume Sadiq would
Hmm.
probably take a crack at it. Joffrey would probably take a crack at it. You can't count out Toby, also a
Yeah.
former world champion.
Yeah.
So there's going to be, no matter what, like there is going to be some big names that get left out. And I think that's it's exciting to be able to see that many people fighting for it. Like, I don't love the system this year, but I do love the fact that like there's 3 spots in the LCQ, and the way that it worked out is like there's going to be some big time racers. So like I think as a fan of the sport, you just want to see a good racing, and like this is going to be a good race.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I actually, this is how my mind works. And I hope people listening don't think that I'm like the most arrogant American racer that's mostly run 59s like in his
No,
life.
that's
But
Rich. They think that about
okay,
Rich. You're
no,
good.
Rich is wonderful, and he's proven himself clearly. Um, I'm a competitive person, and I train better when I know what I'm up against. So I got a note on my phone just labeled competition, and I made a list of names of people that I think could be there. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people who have raced in the Elite 15 in the last year who did not qualify. That I think that could potentially be at this race. So it's like a lot of big names, man. This is a high level race if all these dudes show up. So
It's going to be a high level race if half the dudes show up. So
right.
that's awesome. Well, Grayson, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you said you had about an hour, and we're approaching that hour mark. So, closing thoughts for you. Anybody that you want to shout out? You already mentioned a sponsor in Manly, but anyone else that you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm grateful for Manly. Grateful for my home gym where I get to train at the Epoch Training Center. Obviously, my teammate Katie, my training partner, just wonderful people in my life. And man, I got to say, I'm grateful for the athletes that are a part of the Kilgore coaching crew, and members of the Chase Pack. That's our race team that's coming out in 2025 2026 season. In a lot of ways, this is the kind of thing that you do in community, right? So I'm very fortunate to belong to a community of people who come to my gym and train and join me in group chats and then go out to brunch with me afterwards. That's really the heartbeat of this sport. Are these wonderful people who may never touch an Elite 15 race, but are out here saying like, I just want to be a better version of myself. I want to train. I want to be in pursuit of something significant, and I'm going to invest my time and my energy and my passion into this sport. So I know that's kind of soapboxy, but every day I try to be grateful for those people, and I want to be part of their story, and I want to be part of their community. So that really maybe goes out to all the Hyrox and DecaFit athletes out there. I love this community. I love what we're doing here.
Dude, I love that. Well, there's no better way to wrap it up than that. So, Grayson, really appreciate your time today, man. It was awesome chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Have a good one.
Best of luck in Barcelona.
Thanks, man.